Could the fate of the Firelord, the future of the Avatar, and the very existence of Republic City all depend on one failed field trip? Today, we're exploring the alternate timelines that answer this question. What if Toph actually got her life-changing field trip with Zuko?
Everyone else went on a life-changing field trip with Zuko. Now it's my turn.
Before we dig in, make sure to subscribe and hit that notification bell for more Avatar videos every week.
That's so great!
Now, what would happen if Toph got the field trip she wanted? Well, the short answer is, it depends. When exactly would Toph and Zuko go on this field trip? What would they do? And how would it affect the rest of their lives and the rest of the world? Let's say Zuko actually listened to Toph on Ember Island. Because let's be real, he didn't even try to channel Iroh and give her some wise life lessons.
It's like a silver sandwich.
What?
If he wasn't too preoccupied with finding Aang, he might have learned that he and Toph have a lot in common. They both had privileged upbringings. Toph is from the richest family in GAOLING, and Zuko is literal royalty. They both had overbearing parents with unreasonable expectations for their children. They both created secret identities to slip past the rules of their circumstances and go after what they really wanted. And they both had to leave home to escape what others wanted for them and truly find themselves. So it's not that difficult to imagine them bonding over their similar childhoods, getting angry at Fatherlord Ozai, realizing that Sozin's comet is on the horizon, and then deciding to take a little field trip to see the Firelord. They could borrow Appa, and once they reached the main island of the Fire Nation, Toph could use earthbending to tunnel them under the city, past the guards, and into the palace.
Not a problem.
Toph and Zuko would find the Firelord getting ready for his big moment, crowning himself the Phoenix King. Toph would use metal bending to box up Ozai, just like when Shen Fu and Yu kidnapped her and tried to bring her back to her parents. Zuko's already an expert in breaking into and out of places nobody should be able to break into and out of. The Boiling Rock, the Po Huai Stronghold, Lake Laogai. So just imagine the Blind Bandit and the Blue Spirit teaming up to dadnap the Firelord and hand-deliver him to Aang, who would turn up eventually. And in the meantime, Toph and Sokka would just verbally destroy Ozai. I'm talking a total roast.
I guess we should call you the Loser Lord.
I am the Phoenix King.
Oh, sorry. Didn't mean to offend you, Phoenix King of getting his butt whooped.
Of course, hilarious as that would be, it also wouldn't lead Zuko to reconcile with Iroh until after the end of the war. Also, after dealing with the worst father in history, Toph might decide that she has no interest in reconciling with her own family. And on top of all that, nobody would be around to stop AZULA from claiming the throne after Ozai goes missing. So we'd end up in a timeline where Zuko never challenges AZULA for the throne, and where Toph never copes with her central defining conflict between reconnecting with her family and being herself. So, does this timeline leave both Zuko and Toph with incomplete, unsatisfying character arcs? Yeah. Does it also break the whole dramatic structure of the finale and get rid of the fantastic moment when Aang finally faces his duty as the Avatar head on? You bet. But would it also be the most widely entertaining field trip in the whole series? Yeah. Of course, in Zuko's defense, there wasn't a ton of time for life-changing field trips while Team Avatar was scouring the island searching for Aang. But what if Toph and Zuko took their field trip on the day of Sozin's comet? What if, instead of asking Katara to help put AZULA in her place, Zuko asked Toph? In this situation, Katara would join Suki and Sokka in taking down the airship fleet. Katara was able to break into the Southern Raiders ship with just waterbending, so she'd probably be able to break into the control room on the airship, just without Toph's metal-bending monster moves. There's one other moment when Toph's bending saves the mission, when she metal bends the rudder of the airship to take out the rest of the fleet. But if Katara's there instead of Toph, Katara and Sokka would have to sneak into another airship and take over yet another control room. It would take them much longer than just metal bending the rudder, But something tells me Katara, Sokka, and Suki would figure out a way to stop the whole fleet.
Water tribe.
Now, what would happen if Zuko and Toph confronted AZULA instead of Zuko and Katara? The beginning of the Agni Kai would play out pretty much exactly as we saw it in the show. But everything would change when AZULA attacks Toph. Because she's so attuned to the tiniest movements of her opponents, it's possible that Toph could feel the shift in AZULA's aim instantaneously. She could potentially block AZULA's lightning, step into the fight, and strike with decisive force. AZULA and Zuko were pretty much evenly matched, but AZULA versus Zuko and Toph? I don't think she'd stand a chance. Of course, all this depends on Toph being able to anticipate AZULA's moves, and that's not a guarantee. There's some compelling evidence that Toph can't read AZULA as well as she can read other people.
Stick to the truth. I'll be able to tell if you're lying.
I am a 400-foot-tall purple platypus bear with pink horns and silver wings.
Okay, you're good, I admit it.
So if Toph can't sense AZULA's intentions, Zuko would sacrifice himself for Toph, leaving Toph to take down AZULA alone. Let's break this down. Toph versus AZULA on the day of Sozin's coming. We know Toph's a master of neutral Jing, waiting and listening. But AZULA is so unpredictable, and her firebending is at its most powerful at this moment. So AZULA, especially in this condition, would be a serious challenge for Toph. Honestly, we're not sure who would take this one. Drop us a comment and tell us who you think would win. Even if Toph did take down AZULA though, she doesn't have Katara's healing abilities. If Zuko leapt in front of AZULA's lightning for Toph, his life would be in grave danger, and Toph would have no way to help.
Worst field trip ever.
Both facing down AZULA and kidnapping Ozai would lead to some awesome battles. But would they actually qualify as a life-changing field trip with Zuko? Because maybe the real Zuko field trip is the character development that happens along the way. By the end of Avatar: The Last Airbender, Toph still hasn't made her peace with her family. She sent a message to her parents in the runaway, but nobody really knows what happened to Hawkeye, or the letter he carried.
Hey, where'd Hawkeye go?
In the search, Zuko finally finds his mother after leaving home, finding his destiny, and becoming the person he's meant to be. When he reconnects with Ursa, Zuko can finally reconcile his past with his path in life. So if Toph wanted to reconnect with her family too, it would make a lot of sense for Zuko to join her. In the Rift, which takes place right after the search, Aang brings Toph, Sokka, and Katara and the Air Acolytes on a field trip of his own to celebrate Yang Chen's festival. Toph isn't feeling very festive, to say the least. So since she wasn't particularly interested in the 100-year-old air nomad tradition, say Toph sat out Aang's field trip and went on a field trip with Zuko instead. Together, they go back to Toph's hometown, GAOLING. When they got there though, they'd only find Toph's mother, Poppy. That's because after Yu and Shin Fu came back to GAOLING without Toph, her parents split up, and Lao, her father, left GAOLING. When Zuko and Toph found Poppy, they'd probably stay with her, so that Toph could prove to her mother what the rest of the world already knew, that she's the greatest earthbender of all time. If Toph was able to reconcile with her mother, it's possible she might grow up to be a different kind of mother to her own two daughters. In Legend of Korra, we find out that Toph was a really hands-off parent. She was probably just trying to give her two daughters the freedom she never had as a kid. But as a result, Suyin acted out and got involved with the Terror Triad, while Lin threw herself into police work and clung to rules and order.
Wow, you almost look like a real cop.
You're supposed to be in school.
Oh no, are you gonna tell Mom? It's not like she's going to care.
But if Toph had a chance to find a more balanced relationship with Poppy, she might have been closer to Lin and Suyin. Instead of never speaking to each other, the two sisters might have grown up to have a closer relationship both to their mother and to each other. But this trip to GAOLING would have consequences that reach way beyond the Beifong family dynamics. While Toph is busy making peace with her mother at her old home, she and Zuko would be missing out on Team Avatar's adventures at the Earth and Fire refinery in Cranefish Town. In this timeline, Toph wouldn't get involved at the refinery, she wouldn't reconcile with her father, and we wouldn't get to see her soft side. Aang would probably still try to defend the townspeople against General Old Iron, But without Toph there to defend the refinery and everything her father worked to build, Aang would completely destroy the industrialized Cranefish Town just to appease General Old Iron. Appeasing angry spirits by restoring balance between humans and nature seems like just another day in the life of the Avatar, right? Except Cranefish Town went on to become Republic City. While the town developed, the Earth and Fire Refinery used machines to make benders less important in industrial processes. This inspired high tensions between benders and non-benders in the city. Tensions which would go on to fuel Amon's equalist movement. Plus, if Toph didn't reconcile with her father in the rift, she would never ask to go back to Cranefish Town in imbalance. If Team Avatar never returned to Cranefish Town, Aang might never discover this small island in the bay, and he might never decide to stay there long term. So this small island near Cranefish Town might never develop into Air Temple Island, and Cranefish Town might never be renamed Republic City. So if Toph and Zuko took a little field trip to GAOLING so that Toph could reconcile with her parents, then decades later, Republic City would be completely different. There might not be an equalist movement to threaten Avatar Korra. Lin Beifong might never be police chief. She might be spending quality time with her mother and sister in Zaofu instead. Tenzin might live at one of the 4 ancient air temples, instead of on Air Temple Island near Republic City. And actually, if Toph didn't stop Aang from destroying the Earth and Fire Refinery, then Republic City might not even exist at all. So in this timeline, where Toph and Zuko go on a field trip to help Toph build a new relationship with her parents, then decades later, Avatar Korra would inherit a world that looked completely different from the one that we know. But what if Toph and Zuko didn't go on a huge field trip on the day of Sozin's Comet? Because their field trip already happened. But it was a little less adventurous than meeting dragons and infiltrating a prison. And Zuko wasn't the one helping Toph. It was actually the other way around. Toph helped Zuko see that he could still make his uncle proud. The night Team Avatar saw the boy in the iceberg. As a character, Zuko is constantly questioning his past and his path.
It's my greatest regret, and I may never get to redeem myself.
Toph, on the other hand, is self-assured from the very beginning.
I'm not looking for anyone's approval. I know who I am.
So it makes total sense that Toph would be the one to help Zuko deal with his guilt over his past choices and his doubts about his future.
All your uncle wanted was for you to find your own path and see the light. Now you're here with us. He'd be proud.
Ow! What was that for?
That's how I show affection.
Actually, come to think of it, Toph is kind of an expert in these transformative conversations. She taught Aang how to embrace his steadfast side and stand up for himself. She let Sokka talk through his grief over losing his mother. She helped Iroh understand that he needed Zuko just as much as Zuko needed him. And she helped Korra help herself after her traumatic battle with Zahir. And while they might not count as field trips, these moments with Toph are definitely life-changing. Looking at these alternate timelines, 3 things are clear. 1, Zuko and Toph actually have a lot they can learn from each other. 2, the world of Avatar after the 100-Year War would look very different if Toph actually got a real field trip with Zuko. And 3, we're still a little bitter about the whole thing. What Toph and Zuko field trip do you want to see? Let us know in the comments. Be sure to like and subscribe, and check out more alternate timelines on the Avatar YouTube channel.